So Parrish, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Blessed.
So we got a really nice response from the last time we got together and spoke, and I just kind of wanted to take a little bit of a deeper dive into exactly what you do as a men's clothing professional in the custom trade.
Okay, let's do it.
And I kind of wanted to be like gender neutral in the sense that we've known over the last 5 or 6 years that women buy more clothing for men than men buy for men.
This is true.
So we want this conversation to be gender neutral, so that maybe women can get some tips as well.
Okay, perfect.
So I don't want you to give away any of your secrets, but I kind of want you to get into the actual the way you do business, your day-to-day activities. Okay. So walk us through the period where you first contact your customer.
Well, it's 2 phases. Existing clientele and cultivating new clients. Existing clientele, they've done business with you, they trust you, so the relationship is quite different. The product, they're happy with the product. So meeting them or seeing them is quite easy and it takes less time. When you get a new client, that's slightly a little more challenging because you want to find out information as to whether or not they've done custom clothing before, if they have it with their experience, and also the level of quality they got and what they're spending. So that's a deeper dive in terms of their wardrobe. And typically the questions go, where do you typically buy your clothes? What brands do you typically like? What are your favorite retail places you go to? So on and so forth. So once you garner that information, it becomes a lot easier to put together a program for them. And usually what I say to them, we can make this a project, or we can do it, piecework. It's up to you however you want to do it. And what I like about home appointments is because I get to go into your wardrobe and see what you have. And I'm the type of guy who will color block it. So I'll go earth tones into your blues, your grays, your blacks, and into your secondary sportswear. And that gives me an idea of lifestyle. Very important because as a custom clothing stylist, my job is to balance and maintain and coordinate your wardrobe for you. Just like you have an accountant that does your taxes, you have a person, a dentist or electrician, they're professionals in what they do. I'm a professional in what I do. So I think in this business, you have to, build your business by your reputation. The most important thing is your reputation, because for people who have a negative experience, will tell millions. And those who have a good experience will try to keep it to themselves, unfortunately.
The great publicist, public relations person, Terry Williams told me once, she says, I'm gonna give you a piece of advice. And she says, when you tell somebody you're gonna do something, you do it. And it's such a small thing, but it's very, very important, that when we make promises, we need to keep them. And when we make appointments, we need to keep them. And when we deliver the product, we gotta make sure that we deliver it on time and it also has the specifications that the person is looking for.
Correct.
So now I want to ask you about going into the meeting with the customer. Okay. I mean, in terms of whether you're going to size them up, you're going to do all the measuring. I kind of want you to get into that.
Well, for me, I have a process that I use and it's always worked for me. Once the appointment is scheduled, I pretty much have an idea what they want. So for me, the easiest thing to do before you get stuck in the weeds is do the mechanics of the measurements. 26 different measurements, and then I take 4 photographs. It gives me the idea of posture, shoulders, so on and so forth. And so once those mechanics are done, then we go to exploration of fabrics. Based upon the information they've given me, they're looking at possibly replacing a navy or gray, or they're looking for something slightly little different. So that's where we get into the process of looking through the fabrics. And then we get into the thread count, super 120s, 130s, 140s, 150s. And then we go into design of more premium fabrics. So depending on what the customer is looking for, and that all is contingent upon what his threshold of pain is in terms of what he wants to spend. For me, it depends. I don't shop from my own pockets. I was taught never shop from your own pockets, because a person that maybe at one point you showed them something they really like, they may push the envelope a little more and spend a little bit more. So I think it's all about just the process, and that process I use that mechanics and then get into the fabrication and what they're looking for and so forth. And from that point we get into styling. If they're in the banking field, that kind of coins being more traditional in terms of fit, in terms of color palette, and so on and so forth. If they're slightly a little bit more, they want to be more edgy, you can do more textures and tones like tick weaves and bird's eyes and glen plats, things of that nature. So I think you have to explore a lot of that. And as a clothier in your wardrobe, I'm kind of like, I see you every 6 months. So I'm exploring exactly, pushing the envelope, telling you, keeping abreast what's going on in the trends, and really inviting you into that. Now, it may or may not be your suit set, but I offer it to you. So you can say the yes or no. I'm not going to look at you and say, well, he or she are never going to buy that. I would present it to you, and you make the determination as to whether or not it works for you, so on and so forth.
So get into the different fabrics. I want you to talk about the fabrics. I want you to also talk about what thread counts mean and how that benefits the customer in terms of wear, in terms of how the fabric performs. But talk a little bit about the fabric selection in terms of the really fine mills around the world. For instance, like a Laura Piana or Holland and Sherry. I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, you can get really fabric from all over the world. The premier fabric comes out of Italy. Italy has been known for their fabric and their fabrication and how they put things together and their wool. So we have virgin wool, and then you're talking about crosshatch, you're talking about wefts, you're talking about tweeds. So it depends upon really what you're looking for. Majority of most people want something year-round weight, 6 to 7 ounce suit. Something they can wear year-round. And then you go into your winter weight, slightly heavier, 10 to 12 ounce suits, which is slightly denser flannels and thick things like that. So in terms of fabric, I really gauge about what the customer wears. Me personally, I tend to wear year-round fabrics because I'm pretty much a guy that's moving around a lot. I perspire, but I try to really lay it at the feet of the client to determine what he wears. But then I add in some flannels for winter because I don't like wearing a coat until it's absolutely really cold.
Right.
In terms of thread count, that is the microns of the wool. Okay. The higher the microns of the wool, it's like diamonds. The higher the microns, the more supple and delicate the fabric is. So we're starting at 100s, 110s, 120s. 130s, 140s, 150s, 160s, 180s, 200s. And so the higher the yarn stitch, the more delicate the fabric is. So the next question is, people hear thread count and they equate that with better quality. All of them are great quality. It just depends upon how much you have in rotation and how you wear them. So the idea is, if you have 2 pair of shoes and you're wearing those 2 pair of shoes all the time, you're going to find the heel well down. The same thing with clothing. The more you have in rotation, the breadth of your wardrobe is going to be longer and deeper, because now you're not wearing those suits all the time or clothing all the time, because you have enough in there where you have wardrobe you can switch from season to season.
Right, and when you talk about higher thread count, you're also talking about a level of wearability.
Correct.
Whereas the higher the thread count, the more delicate the fabric. You don't want it to be in your rotation regularly.
Correct.
It's something that you may want to keep seasonal.
Correct.
And and it's something that you're gonna wear it maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year.
Correct.
Tops.
So you're gonna have these special pieces, what I call seal the deal items. If you're in an executive position and you get ready to do this mega deal, you want to have that sooner because they take a bunch of pictures. You want to make sure you're looking your best. And then you have the workhorse pieces in your wardrobe. So when you have enough of rotation, nothing's being worn out because you're rotating it. So one suit you wear on Monday, you're not wearing it till the following week. And I always suggest to clients, how many pieces tailored clothing should I have in my wardrobe for work? As many as you want. There's no number that you can have in your wardrobe. It's whatever you want. As long as it's in rotation, it's good, it's good quality, you're wearing it, and you're happy with it, then hey, add as much as you want, because taste level changes, and you may want to get sprinkle in those fashion pieces against the more traditional workhorse pieces. That's typically that's more of a taste level at that point.
Yeah, and before we leave the showroom and go back into the tailor shop, talk about a little bit about the bells and whistles that go into the suit. Now we noticed we see like contrasting thread in the lapel buttonhole. We see contrasting thread on the sleeve. Talk about that aspect, about kissing buttons and working buttonholes, and kind of get into that a little bit. So that we can let people who don't really understand custom clothing, all the little details that you can add to it, whether it's pick stitching, adding a ticket pocket. Elaborate a little bit about that side of the garment.
Well, in terms of the construction of the garment, very important. I look at suits as sports cars. If you have a Mercedes or Maserati, you're not going to put cloth seats in it. You're not going to do that. So if you get a fabric, say a Laura Piana fabric or Dorme fabric or Harlan and Shelley fabric, you want the interior to match the exterior. So, for example, you're going to put your best a Bemberg lining in, in terms of breathability and wearability. You want to put the best in the best. And then you have linings that, Kufner does linings. They have linings that are synthetic and so on and so forth. So it depends on the taste level. But I always say the inside should match the outside. So if you're getting a better quality garment, you want the better to go into it. And then basically in terms of the bells and whistles is really your choice. Custom is kind of like, custom and bespoke is the same thing. Custom is an American term, bespoke is an English term. Bespoke means to order in advance. That's all it means. So I'm seeing you for your fall wardrobe now, which basically means you should have it in your stuff in your wardrobe now, moving to a fall. And then come January, February, I'm seeing you for spring, summer. So we're moving ahead 6 months, at least 4 to 5 months ahead. That's very important because it keeps your wardrobe fresh. But in terms of bells and whistles, it depends on what you want. In terms of what pick stitch is. Pick stitch, before there was automation, everything was done by hand. So that pick stitch was done by hand. In terms of the functional buttonholes, that was done because back in the day, before it was television and Netflix and all this, if a surgeon was at the theater and he got called into surgery, he didn't have an opportunity to go and change.
That's right.
He had to unbutton his sleeve, unbutton his French cut shirt, and get right to it.
Exactly.
It all means something. In respect to the vents in the back of a jacket, what that simply meant from the aristocrats who dressed everywhere they went, even riding a horse, they had side vents in the side of the jacket so they could ride comfortably on the horse.
Right.
So all this old world means something. A lot of people think it's new, it's been there already. It's just that no one's taking the time to explain it from the A to Z, explain what the process is and what the reality of what it really means, the functionality at that point in time. Now
Absolutely.
Much more of just a fashion thing now.
Yeah. And when we talk about men's clothing, particularly about men's tailored clothing, really shoulder heads haven't changed in over 100 years.
Not at all. And the thing, as you know, back in the 80s was a really broad shoulder and that kind of stuff. Now and now it's more the softer, more natural shoulder. Because people want to have them more natural. They don't want to wear football pads under their jackets.
Right.
So that's very important. Going back to what we talked about the measuring process, being to assess a body, what's the right construction to put into a shoulder of a client, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody's the same. Everyone's body is very different. So assessing that, measurements, and then taking pictures and assessing those pictures, and then putting the right information in to get the product back as close to the body as we possibly can.
Let's take a walk off of the showroom floor.
Sure.
And take us into the Tailor Shop in terms of the people that you utilize to complete your finished product.
This is what I say when it comes to that part of the business. They are the most intricate and the most important people in the process.
And there's a lot of people who work in that industry.
Correct.
And you are the driving force to make sure that part of the business continues to work.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that we keep our tailors working and all the people who do the craftsmanship.
Right.
We want to make sure that we keep them working during this pandemic, and elaborate a little bit on that aspect of the business.
Well, as a custom clothing, a lot of times if a client introduces me to a referral, they'll say he's my tailor. Let me be clear what a tailor is. The tailor makes the garment.
Absolutely.
I don't make the garment. I essentially am astute in fabrication, fit, measurements, and then I take all that in a gumbo pot and I hand it over to the tailor, which he in turn cuts a pattern for you. A pattern is actually cut for you, not cookie cut. It's cut for you, for your body measurements. Now, in that tailor shop, there are people that cut that pattern makers, cutters, sewers. They create the button stitch, the buttonholes, the felt on the neck, the construction. So people need to understand custom is such a intricate thing. And it's so special that when you get that product, that's why you fall in love with it.
Right.
Because the love has been put there. The love, it's like creating a piece of art. It's like creating a piece of art. And when you're creating this art, you get a beautiful canvas, and then you're mixing colors. When they mixed colors back in the day, they made the colors themselves, and they mixed oil with them.
Absolutely.
Mix oil with them. That's the way I look at clothing. Clothing is such an art, and such an art form if it's worn. And when you see a custom garment, male or female, if it fits to the body, there's something unique about that your eye catches. And says, what's about this garment that I like so much? Majority of the times it could be a custom piece.
Exactly.
It could be a custom piece.
It may drape really nice.
Correct.
It may have just a really dynamic silhouette, depending upon the person's body type.
Correct.
And it's just so many aspects that come with it. And I love the way you talk about it and describe it. And also inside the tailor shop are the other people behind the scenes.
Right.
the manufacturers,
correct,
the people that you do business with
right,
in terms of buying fabric. Talk a little bit about that without giving away your trade secrets.
It's very important that the people who buy the fabric know fabric. There's a love for this business. What I can tell you is, when I work with some of the premier retailers in New York City, I was privy to a lot of information behind the scenes. And for example, I'll just throw a red herring out to you for you. Laura Piana.
Right.
Laura Piana has exquisite fabrics. They're pretty much known for
some of the best in the world.
Some of the best in the world, by far. And there's others like Zegna and
exactly.
and Holland and Sherry,
exactly.
and many others. However, with them, I'll say to them is that every year or twice a year, they'd come in and talk about the fabric. What was special about the fabric? How, this specific herd of sheep can only produce this amount.
Right.
That's why this is only this amount of cashmere sweaters, or this is a Vicuna jacket. Very important, and most people miss that. They when you talk about a cashmere jacket, I want a cashmere jacket because I sold, and I was actually went to the showroom, was measured for a cashmere jacket. I still have it, beautiful camel double worsted cashmere jacket, still have it, and it's got it got my initial on the sleeve because I wanted it that way. So
exactly.
So I think it's important to understand that these people are intricate in terms of their passion for it. Did you know there's a certain herd of sheep that they can only be the wool can only be cut certain times a year.
Right.
And the closer you get to the body, the better the wool is.
The wool is.
It's softer, nicer. So a lot of times when you're touching these garments and you're looking at the price tag in a retail location, or you're looking in a book and then you ask the price of a garment, or to have a garment made, you've got this sticker shock eye, because you say, well, how can it be so much? Because there's not but so much out there.
Right.
So and they also have their relationship with independents and retailers who can sell this product. It's not for everybody. It's very exclusive. But the beauty is, once you have one of these pieces, you're going to be so happy with it because you made an investment, and you're going to have this piece season after season after season after season after season. So I think it's very important that the people behind the scenes who buy the wool, who see the wool, the way the wool is loomed from the manufacturing process. A lot of people don't realize that when a garment is from a factory, it's actually sponged.
Exactly.
Sponge is the process where the garment is washed for shrinkage. And so another point of being a custom clothing, it's explaining to you how to care for the garment. We find that through the market research and dealing with clients that they dry clean their clothing excessively too much.
Right.
They dry clean it and it starts to get a glaze or shiny because they're putting melon on fabric, which is burning the fabric. So I highly recommend investing in a steamer.
Exactly.
Steam your clothing. A lot of times
dry clean it maybe once every other year.
Dry clean, I'd say dry clean no more than once a season, twice a season if necessary. Yeah. In between steaming up, because a lot of times when wrinkled, we think it's soiled. Actually, this is our moisture's gotten into it, and we just steam it and freshens up the fabric.
Exactly.
Freshens it up. Keep it on a wood hanger. Keep it a cedar hanger. Keep it in the bag. These are things that kind of.
I want to get into that aspect with you, Parrish. Mm-hmm. But I got to end this episode, and we're going to take this to part 2.
Sure.
But man, thank you so very much for your time, man. I'm loving this conversation. I think people are getting a real education about really fine men's clothing, and I can't wait for us to get back and have this conversation and have it continue.
Absolutely, anytime. I'm more than welcome to. You can send me down anytime we can talk, but I love talking shop with you, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me.